So guys, in this video, I want to talk about how you can stop overthinking content, how you can overcome this entire perfectionism, and how you can make money faster, sign clients faster with your coaching program if you're an online coach. And I believe you can use all of this knowledge that I'm going to share in the video in life as well. And these are going to be the lessons that I learned from my career with content, with business. If you're new to the channel, I'm Andre. I started 3 companies before creating content with my personal brands. I had a creative agency, I had a SaaS business, an e-learning company, and I had an e-com store, or 2 rather. The first one completely failed. Second one, I really scaled 6 figures. It was awesome, but at one point, I was so overwhelmed and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the creativity and create a personal brand with this. And that was in 2023 at the end, I believe in November. And in a couple of months, I went from 0 followers, because I started from scratch, to almost like 200,000. So last year has been crazy. I scaled my consulting business, which I'm currently running right now, to 5 figures. Right now I'm helping coaches scale. And I've done a lot of things, but I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, and I'm barely now getting to that point where I'm getting really close to who I'm supposed to be. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it in here. As you guys know, I love to kind of like prepare these. So we have like some nice visual things. I might not have like the best handwriting, but again, like this kind of like ties into the, stop overthinking and just create. So I want to, like, before all of this, I want to tell you like a really quick story. So the number one thing, like throughout my journey, I used to do music before, some of you guys might know it. Throughout my journey in my life, I'm 28 right now. The number one reason why, like, I guess I could have been way more successful than I currently am, but obviously everything is a process and you're learning. And there is a greater plan and there's a good reason for everything happening. But the number one thing that kind of like held me back in my journey so far, because I think I fully like overcame it, like 99.9%. The number one thing was this idea of like, I have to do things in a perfect way. Overthinking every single thing, especially when it comes to the creative side, when it comes to like content. So I had this, this idea that everything has got to be perfect, like all of the time. I have to, before creating something, before putting something out with my businesses, I have to put my best foot forward and create the best thing ever, or otherwise I won't put it out. Otherwise I won't be successful, which is absolute bullshit. It's absolute like, all of this, really what it is, it's you're blocking your own success. So let's kind of like get into it right now. So if right now, like you're overthinking content, if you're in that like whole perfectionism trap, and if you want to create, if you want to help others with content, if you want to provide value, but you're trapping yourself, this is why, and I'm gonna like help you overcome it. And as you might be able to see in the very middle, the cure for this, all of this, is you gotta obsess over other people's problems. That is the basis of what you gotta do, not only with content, but also in real life. Now, let's start in the beginning. Why are you self-sabotaging in the first place with content? I say this to my clients as well. Oftentimes, we mask perfectionism as this strategy. We're sitting there thinking, no, I'm spending like 3 weeks on a video because I got the strategy, I'm gonna make it perfect. But really deep down what it is, it's this like insecurity of not being good enough, and you're delaying the actual momentum, the result. And I believe that if you're in that trap, right, of like everything has got to be perfect, like you end up like just delaying things, because deep down you might be scared of, what if I put this out and it's gonna blow up? Like I'm gonna have all eyes on me I'm gonna have a lot of responsibilities. What if this works? Like, I would argue most of this overthinking comes from the fear of success, not the fear of failure. Most of this overthinking comes from this like idea of like, what if I do make it? What if I do make it and everything changes? So you have to think right now, is this like perfectionism really good for me? Or am I just self-sabotaging my momentum? Am I just destroying my chances of success? Am I blocking myself from success because deep down I fear it? A lot of people, they're gonna give you strategies, they're gonna give you all of the, but it all starts there. Do you fear your success? I know I did. Like last year, when I was starting to take off with my content, I was literally, guys, I was at like 200 followers. I started taking off. Like it was absolutely wild. Like from 200, I went to like on Instagram 200 to like 10,000 something in a couple of like 5 days. And then later on, I took off again from like 30,000 to 120, something like that. And like, again, a couple of days, which was crazy. I had this like part in my brain that was so afraid of success, fearing like the judgment of others, fearing the reaction that I would get from even like my super close friends. And I had this like I had like multiple instances when, I had people from my like past, from like even college and stuff, like look at my content and make comments, stupid comments and stuff. And I realized like there was a part in my brain that was so afraid of putting content out and blowing up and being successful and running a successful business that, it was afraid of doing that because that would mean it would get judgment from the people that were once close to me. And so it took me a long time to fully get rid of that and understand that like there's no way for me to be successful if I keep sabotaging my momentum. So it all starts there. Now, with all of this, what you might be going through also with overthinking content is this idea of like the artist paralysis. And I made this analogy in one of my masterclasses inside of my program with my clients. So I was talking about this, like imagine you're a painter and you have the greatest idea for a painting or ideas. You have the best colors, best color palette, you got the canvas ready, right? You're getting ready to paint. But for some reason, you don't paint because you're so afraid that the art gallery is not gonna purchase or accept your painting. Which is the dumbest reason to not create something. So you gotta also look at like overthinking, like content and this idea of like spending 3 months on a video. You gotta look at this like, what am I actually doing? Like this is dumb. Like this is dumb. Why not create? Create, put something out, then iterate. I also I'm constantly giving my own examples and calling myself out on my bullshit, to not like sound like I'm preaching here or I'm perfect. Like most of my career in music, I had this feeling of like, I gotta spend so much on a song. I don't want to put it out. I want to spend like months and months, and that robbed me of like so much momentum and success. But then at one point I realized, I just don't care anymore. I'm going to put stuff out and then I'm going to iterate, then I'm going to improve. And don't be afraid as an artist because, with this entire thing, when you're doing like online coaching, consulting, like how I'm doing, when you're creating content, I believe to a degree you're creating art. As an artist, it does take time, and this applies to anything. It does take time to grow into your full self. It does take time to grow into your full self. So, yes, you might be overthinking, but so what? Put it out anyway. So that is my entire thesis. If you're sitting there with a blank canvas, the world is, first of all, not gonna know if your art is good or not. It's not gonna know your art at all. And the art gallery is definitely not gonna, it won't have a thing to accept, if that analogy sort of makes sense. Now, what are the because I just want to keep going with this. What are the 3 killers of creativity in all of this? Because I was looking at my clients, I was looking at people online, I was looking at my own journey as well. What is really like killing our momentum, our creativity, our businesses as well? 3 things. 1, excessive planning. And you might be going through it right now. You might think, yeah, I need the perfect video. You just plan for like 6 months and nothing happens. Because the plans that you make also need execution. And unless you pair these up, nothing is gonna happen. Crazy concept, right? Now, the next thing, you might be sitting there imagining this perfect path. You sit there like, imagine like, yeah, what if I would do that and do this and 12 months go by and you do nothing. And last but not least, with like killers of creativity, you sometimes like lose sight of the why, of the reason why you're doing things in the first place, why you're creating content. And once you lose sight of the why, your creativity will drop, your momentum will drop, you will start overthinking, you will start thinking, I'm not good enough, like the content that I'm making is not good enough, and you got to constantly remind yourself, why am I doing this in the first place? I was mentioning in one of the previous videos, like the number one thing that you need when starting an online coaching business and your personal brand is like that you need the desire to truly help others. So for me, that's what it is. Even when, some days it's not that easy. Some days I might not want to film, I might not want to create something, whatever. I'm constantly reminding myself of the why behind it. Now, what is the next thing in here that I wrote is this idea of like, you want to fail as fast as possible. Because guys, the whole thing, you might be sitting with overthinking the content, trying to find clarity, but the idea is you do not think your way into clarity. You act. Through taking action, that is the only way you can get clarity. So you take action, you post content, you fail as fast as possible, you learn as fast as possible, you iterate, and that is how you will get to that clarity. Now, obviously, with this entire journey, as I've seen myself, if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have a guide, if you don't have someone that's already been through the entire pain so that you don't have to, you will struggle. Like, you will struggle because you will go through this entire process without anyone to kind of like coach you through it, to guide you through it. And I've been through that myself, which is the reason why now I'm doing what I'm doing with my coaching program, with my mentorship. So that is like, you don't think your way into clarity, you act your way into clarity. So you got to fail as fast as possible. Don't be afraid of, again, showing up, creating, posting a video. It might flop. So what? You post another one. You post another one. Now, another thing with all of this is you want to find some great ways for you, easy ways for you to get into what I like to call the zone. So first of all, you want to like become super aware of inspiration, like what is actually inspiring you in your life. Because when you're inspired, when you feel like, and this might be like a change in environment, this might be, some new people, this might be hiring a coach, this might be getting into shape, traveling, all of this. When you're fired up, that's when the best ideas and like also the execution comes. When you're low, when you got like that low energy, nothing is really happening and you're sitting there with your own thoughts, overthinking, constantly thinking, oh, I might not be good enough, and you just lose like 12 months of momentum. So you got to become aware of like what is actually inspiring me. For me, this number one thing is like environment. That's what I'm planning to move to Dubai. Like I've been there a couple of times, changed my life. It was the only like place that made me kind of like, it gave me that feeling that I belong here. And it inspired me so much that I remember when I was there last time, like I was working at this lounge, like at this like hotel overlooking like the Burj like Khalifa and like the skyline and stuff. And I was like so So inspired. I never felt like that in my life. And so my goal right now is to set up my company there, and I'm in the process of doing that and moving there. And so you got to become aware and chasing the inspiration, like chasing the elements in real life that really, really inspire you, really like fire you up so that you can create the best possible content. Now, another thing with this is like, you have to make it easy for you to create. You have to make it super easy for you to press record. Super easy. So try to have a setup in your house, in your apartment, or a studio if you want to rent it out. Try to have a setup that is super easy to get going so that whenever you have an idea, whenever you plan something, you can go in there, boom, press record, and you're done. Make it as easy as possible for you to succeed. I see so many creators and people that are just overthinking so much that, again, deep down they self-sabotage, because really what it is just self-sabotage. They self-sabotage everything, the process, make it super hard for themselves to record, and then obviously, that results in little to no action and no results. So make it easy for you to create. And when it comes to like taking action, I have this practical thing for you right now. It's called the first mover rule. This goes like that. I want you to do this after the video. Watch the video, then go and do this. Set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Get a notepad. And right now, think of a topic. Get a notepad, think of a topic in your niche, whatever if you're in a fitness niche, think about a topic. If you're in a real estate, whatever, think of a topic. And then I want you to outline a video for YouTube. Or you can do this for a reel. I do recommend doing this for YouTube. I've done this, it's an amazing exercise. So outline it like this. Once you thought of the topic or like the pain point, whatever, think of a title, write the title. Doesn't need to be the best title ever, just write a title. And then outline, make some bullet points. Oh, I could talk about this, boom, 5 points. Outline the video. Then you're done. You got 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes to do it. And then once you're done, immediately after, grab the camera, whatever, do the setup, film. So you give yourself this like first move. Even when you're anxious, even when you do overthink, you allow yourself to make the first step as fast as possible, and you give yourself a timer for 5 minutes. Because in reality, what we're doing, what I've also done in the past, is like sitting, overthinking, procrastinating, masking this entire perfectionism, and essentially like just blocking myself from creating, from filming. And you gotta realize, like, it's so easy to win. It's so easy to make money with an online coaching business, with a personal brand. It's so easy if you just unlock some things in your brain, in your mind. So super practical exercise. Now, what I want to end it on is this: 2 things. Your story and your desire to help others make an impact. That is way more important than strategies. That is way more important than a content plan, way more important than tips and tricks, way more important than all of that, because that is just really surface level. If you have your story that you want to share with people, extract the lessons, create content with that. If you truly have the desire to help others and make an impact, that matters way more than your strategies. It outweighs any type of like system. And the last thing is this: I need you to understand, you do not need more ideas. You need momentum. You need momentum. And that is why we have the first move rule in there. Because you need momentum. Because when you have that momentum, when you realize how simple it is, that you can literally set up the camera and start talking about the things that you actually love, and then you get to, be paid for the things that you love, to talk about the things that you love and teach others. When you realize how easy that is, when you cut out the noise, when you cut out the overthinking, when you cut out like this whole thinking I'm not good enough or whatever, when you remove all of that, I promise your entire life changes. Your entire life changes. Because it really like is gonna tell your brain like, wait a minute, I spent so long trapped in this nonsense when I could have just taken action. Like the biggest difference between you and the people that are really moving, the people that are really successful, it's not the skills, it's not the intelligence, it's not any of that. They just take action. They just take action. So someone right now might not be as skilled as you are in your domain, in your field, but they just took action. They just started their brand. They just created content. They created their community. They're creating their coaching program. They're doing consulting. They're getting paid thousands while you are just, you're sitting there overthinking the video. So I want to end it with this. It's, you don't need more ideas. You don't need more strategies. You don't need like all of this. Like you really need momentum so that it will, the momentum will give you the confidence that you need to pursue this and to like truly create the content that you can create, that you're capable of creating and scaling.